Couldn't think of the word.
Commissioner Curry,
Here.
Adel,
Here.
Anderson,
Here.
Avedisian,
Yep.
Fasano,
Here.
Buell,
Yeah, here.
Bush,
Here.
Clark,
Here.
Desai,
Here.
DeBella,
Here.
Drake,
Here.
Gale, Gardeau,
Here.
Gentile,
Here.
Healy, Hoffman,
Here.
Oheb, Holloway,
Here.
Johnson,
Here.
LaChance, Lester,
Here.
Lewis, Magnan,
Here.
Mandyke,
Here.
Maniscalco, Payne, Tell,
Here.
Salemi,
Here.
Stuber,
And,
Taylor,
Here.
Torres, Wolf,
Here.
Carrier. We have a quorum.
Thank you. Please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Speak.
United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And the ringtone reminded me that the beginning of the meeting, I should have said, please silence your phones.
Thank you.
Next, on the agenda, our town clerk will swear in Commissioner Clark. Esther, would you come up front, please?
He's fun.
Oh, she's a little commissioner. Nice.
Please raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear that you will faithfully uphold, according to law, your duties as a commissioner of the Metropolitan District of Hartford County to the best of your ability? Congratulations.
Thank you.
Next on the agenda is the approval of the minutes of January 10th, 2024. Is there a motion?
Move adoption.
Second.
Any changes, deletions, additions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, motion carried. Is there anyone in the audience that would like to address the board relating to agenda items?
Hello.
Elder.
Yes.
Alma, yes. Alma, would you please
Hello.
state your name and
Yes.
address for the record?
Yes, I will. My name is Alma Elder, and I am from Middlefield, Connecticut, and I'm a member of an organization called Third Act, which is comprised of a group of senior citizens who are committed to be community activists. And one of the items I am interested in is the integrated plan. And I wanted to compliment the board on things I read in their latest report, like increased funding and private property management improvements, and no increase in clean water charges, and a commitment, it seems, to work closely with the city of Hartford. I can remember a time when there was some disagreement over who had responsibility for what between Hartford and the Metropolitan District Commission. But apparently now there's more cooperation in terms of attracting a workforce, if I'm correct in reading these items, and in sharing a wet weather protocol. So I think the MDC has done and made tremendous progress in the last 6 months that I've been sitting here and viewing the proceedings. And I just want to congratulate you on your work. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else that would like to address the board? Okay, next on the agenda, report from District Chairman. I have no report, but what I would like to say to the staff in the back, MDC staff, Scott and I had a conversation, and I know this may break your heart, but if you're here to make a presentation or participate in a presentation, when you're done, please leave. You don't have to stay for the whole meeting. So we're okay with that. We understand, even though I'm sure you enjoy sitting here for all these meetings. Next is the report from the Chief Executive Officer.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Scott Jolson, CEO. I'm going to be quick because we have a couple of items that we'll be going to the executive session. It's going to take some time, so I'm going to be as quickly as possible. First one is I'd just like to make the point, I've talked about this in the past, as working with our delegation down in Washington, Chris Stone, myself, and Steve Bonafonte, we're going down looking to get support for the for language to be put into the WRDA bill, which is the Water Resource Recovery Development Act, which is to get the MDC out of the Army Corps agreement at the Colebrook Reservoir. So we're going down to DC to get support from our delegation on that, February 27th and 28th. We do have and have had conversations with all of the environmental groups, like Farm and Trinidad Watershed, Rivers Alliance. They support us. They're actually going to be down there at the same time, providing the support to the MDC. So that's we'll keep you informed as to how successful we are in getting that language in the WRDA bill. As part of the WRDA bill, every year we also submit projects to try and get federal funding, and we prioritize them. So we have submitted our list as we typically do, and just as an example, 16 projects. As just as an example, as you remember, as part of the integrated plan. In order to achieve the goal that we set for ourselves in North Hartford, which is to take the integrated plan from 47 million up to 180 million, we had to push $300 million worth of work. The most significant project that we pushed in schedule was the elimination of overflows to Webbsville Cove. So we have requested as our top priority $114 million for that project, so that we can keep on track with the elimination of the overflows to the Webbsville Cove. Remember, the tunnel handles picking up all of the overflows, 5, 6 overflows on Franklin Avenue to eliminate the overflows to the Webbsville Cove. It also collects CSOs along the way within Hartford to a 1-year level of storm. And then it also picks up the SSOs in West Hartford and Newington. So we'll keep you informed as to if we receive any funding from that. And then in terms of some really important Water Bureau agenda items, spoke with Chairman Curry, Vice Chairman DeBella, and Vice Chairman of the Water Bureau in Seattle, talking about some really important things that are happening. I just received a call today, myself, Chris Stone, we let the board know that there's an interest in the town of Glastonbury. I haven't had a chance to tell you or you, but I got a call from the town manager just before I came in here. They have shown interest. We have done an appraisal. We haven't submitted that appraisal formally to the town of Glastonbury, but the town manager has indicated they are interested. They do have the money. They are looking for additional money, but they do have, quote, $2 million. I recommended that Jonathan Louise shows up at our Board of Finance, Water Bureau meeting, and we'd like to put that on the agenda just to give a little update as to where we are with that. And hopefully we can move that forward if the board so chooses. Also, we've talked about the in detail at a meeting with the chairman and vice chair of water, the lead and copper rule. So I'm not going to get into details on that. We're going to talk about that in detail at the Water Bureau meeting, but this is important, and this all comes back to Flint, Michigan, 2014. We're required, all the utilities are required to inspect all of your services to homes and to make sure if you identify any lead services, and if you have lead services, you have to do a bunch of things to either replace them or to have the homeowner replace them. And we've got all these dates we have to meet. So we'll be talking in detail about that at the Water Bureau meetings, at the agenda, if we get that on the agenda, but I think we need to have that on the agenda. We also have, let's just see here, lead and copper rule. The other thing is we're going to talk about, hopefully at the next Water Bureau meeting, is we spent a lot of time over the years revising the water bill. And as you all remember, there's been numerous changes, all for the better. We just recently added something very important, which is the donation at $1 or more. So now we'll be able to, our customers will be able to donate monies that would allow us to use that money to help low-income assistance to our 8-member towns, or it's actually 9-member towns as well. So that will be hopefully on the agenda. And then the other thing I did send out, which is, an update, which was just referred to. I have to submit by statute a monthly report of the integrated plan, the North Hartford projects, and that was sent out to all the commissioners and to the legislature last week. And I did send out a notice for the 179 Barber Street Community Outreach Office. We're going to work with the chairman, with our commissioners, and with the stakeholders in the community to try and develop some time frame within the February, early March timeframe to have a ceremonial ribbon cutting for that office. So that's my report, Mr. Chairman.
Any questions? All right, we'll move on then to district council.
Thank you. Excuse me. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Chris Stone. Just a couple things, and I've got towards the end of the agenda, we've got some executive session items that I'll be speaking about. But during my report, just want to talk about a couple of things. One, we are going to Washington at the end of the month. We are going to, our delegation has been very supportive of our efforts in Colebrook. We're going to shore up that support during that meeting, but we also are going to meet with, Steve's trying to schedule meetings with members of the Public Works Subcommittee in Washington that deals directly with the WERDA bill and with Congressman Joe Courtney. Congressman Courtney has handled several of these, what I'll call deauthorizations between the federal government and the Army Corps and local municipalities, entities like the MDC in the past. And hopefully his expertise in the area will be of benefit to the MDC and to his colleagues down in Washington. Secondly, as you know, the oldest landfill case is in court. It's in litigation. We got permission to sue. We immediately filed suit, and that's pending there. But an update on the other case, the second case, again, deals with the landfill, different fee structure. We're scheduling hopefully within the next 30 days, a hearing before the State Claims Commissioner to get that hopefully out of his office and hopefully get permission to sue. That will probably, if that were to happen, and I'm optimistic that it will, that'll most likely be joined with the other pending suit on the landfill, then the final case on the discharge fee dealing with the Buckingham Street garage. That's pending before the claims. It's the last one we filed. It's not ripe to, the time hasn't expired on when the claims commissioner has to act one way or the other. So we're really in a holding pattern on that one. But with that, you'll hear from me again. I think it's the second to last agenda item on the Hartford Tunnel. But if you have any questions on those things or anything else, please let me know.
Question? Thank you, Chris.
Thank you.
Move on now to number 9 on the agenda. Consideration potential action for 3 different resolutions for financing, and I'll recognize Board of Finance Director Bud Salemi for motion.
Yeah, could you just ask, excuse me, can you ask me again, what was it that you're looking for as a report on?
Just a motion to approve or to adopt.
Oh, okay. I thought you wanted me to go through.
I'm sorry.
So these were passed, and they were consolidated issues, and they were passed unanimously at the Board of Finance. And so, Mr. Chairman, I move that we approve the referrals from the Board of Finance.
Right, second.
Is there a second?
Second.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And opposed? Motion carries. That was for all 3, John. Next, Committee on Organization. Chair recognizes Commissioner Buell for motion.
The motion was to add Esther Clark and Rupa Patel to agenda items that were, or rather positions on committees that were mentioned during the meeting. It was approved, seconded. You would repeat the whole thing?
Yes, please.
Okay. Resolution added, we just read that the Committee on Organization recommends to the district board the following Bureau Committee and Board appointments for the years 2024 and 2025. To the Water Bureau, Esther Clark. To the Strategic Planning Committee, Esther Clark. To the Committee on MDC Government, Esther Clark. And to Personnel, Pension, and Insurance Committee, Upin Patel. It was unanimously approved.
Move adoption.
Is there a second?
Second.
And just so everyone is aware, committee assignments, Esther Clark will be on, once we take this action, I assume will be on, was being filled by a Commissioner John Pertowski, who was not reappointed, and Esther Clark was appointed. And on PPI, Commissioner Payne submitted a resignation from PPI. And on PPI, PPI has to be represented by every town, every member town. So that's why these are not additions. These are just replacement to fill vacancies. All in favor?
Aye.
And opposed? Motion carries. Next on the agenda is Committee on MDC Government. Chair will recognize Commissioner Pisano.
Mr. Chairman, the Government Committee met last Wednesday, and this item, which consisted of the appointment of legislative consultants, was favorably approved to move forward to the full body. So I make a motion that this item gets approved by the board.
Second.
Second.
Okay. Through you, Mr. Chairman Pisano, I would ask our counsel, Chris Stone, to explain the rationale behind that.
Sure. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Through you, Chris Stone, District Counsel. Three of the four firms that we're asking, the Government Committee is asking to approve tonight, are existing lobbyists, legislative consultants, two of whom work at the state level, namely Brendan Fox with Gaffney Bennett, the other being Janice Fleming with Strategic Outreach Solutions. The third is Steve Bonafante with SJB Strategies, who had done some work on the state level. This is the year, if it's going to happen, it'll be this year with the fall with the water bill in Congress, that we're going to hear one way or the other on this Holbrook Reservoir termination of our contract with the Army Corps of Engineers. It's important that we focus as much energies in both between Scott and I, the chairman, vice chairman, our lobbyists, our Washington lobbyists, on getting that done. So in addition to retaining Patton Boggs, Squire Patton Boggs in Washington as our federal lobbyist, the Government Committee is proposing that we devote all of Steve's time to federal lobbying. It won't be, there's no change in his compensation, overall compensation from the MDC. In order to supplement our state lobbyist, the committee is proposing that we retain for the session only, which would be from February to May of 2024, the firm of Levin, Polino, and Christ, who are very well-known lobbyists, very successful lobbyists in Hartford, to assist our state lobbying group and really take some of the burden, or the burden of the state at the state level, away from Steve, so he can concentrate on the federal and work with us at the state level. So that's the one change that we're proposing, and it does mean an increase of $14,000 in our cost. It's going to come out of the legal budget. There's no need to have other monies appropriate or change our 2024 budget. I can take it out of my legal account. So we think we have, I'm confident we have a good team moving forward. We had a good team last year. It's gotten bolstered a little bit in terms of our federal presence and replaced by primarily Mike Christ at the state level. So that's a little bit of a change from last year. And I think, thank you for allowing me the opportunity to explain that relatively minor but different approach this year. And that's, again, that's for this year. What happens next year, obviously, these are year-by-year appointments, so that may change.
Questions? Mr.
Yes.
Van Dyke?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Commissioner Mandyke. Attorney Stone, when we're looking at our federal and our state lobbying, I get the federal lobbying where our goals are really to handle Colebrook this year, and then also obviously to find additional funding for our needs down in the federal government. I guess I'm trying to look at, with a short session this year, what are our goals on a state level right now for our firms that are representing us in a short session? Do we have a legislative agenda? Are we playing more of a defensive strat? Like, what is our goal on a state level? And if there's additional for our Fed that we should know about, what else is it besides the two that have identified?
Through you, Mr. Chairman, thank you. Chris Stone, let's tackle the federal question first. Obviously, you've hit on it. Colebrook is critical to the MDC, and it's going to be the primary focus in Washington. There are other funding opportunities that we continue to look at, whether they're in session or not. We look at those funding opportunities, and they'll keep a close eye on that. And quite frankly, they've been very successful in the millions of dollars that they've brought back to the MDC in grants, grants, not loans, for projects that you've been aware of. And as they come through, you'll continue to become aware of to assist us in financing infrastructure. So, for example, we had a $2.5 million grant for some improvements to our Water Pollution Control Authority. There's another 2.5 that we've been approved for the redundant water transmission main from Hartford under the bridge to East Hartford. And there's other opportunities with public infrastructure monies that is available and that we have continued to monitor, apply for, and fortunately have been somewhat successful thus far. As to this, on the state level, in most cases, as you know, we are somewhat reluctant to, if we can avoid it, submit proposals to change our charter, because that sometimes invites others non-MDC people to do the same. It's obvious. I'm not giving away any secrets. That's what happens. But there is a proposal on municipal bonding that's a relatively minor tweak to our charter that we've submitted over the past 2 years. It's gotten through committee unanimously, but hasn't been called. We're hoping to get that called this year. That relates to the refinancing of our bonding debt, and whether during a refinance we have to count both the original debt plus the refinanced debt as towards our debt ceiling. For every other municipality but the MDC, they don't have to double count for that period of time while the refinance is pending. So it's not critical. We're not coming up to or exceeding certainly our bonding cap. But if that were ever to become the case, it could come into play. So rather than wait until that might happen, we've been proactive. We may submit, in all likelihood, subject to what the government committee, their input, would probably submit that bill as well this year. Most of it is defensive. There's some, like, for example, that bonding bill. And then I've promised through Chairman Bizzano that we will meet again with the government committee over the next 2 weeks. Session starts in 2 days. So we'll meet with the government committee. The government committee has been courteous enough to schedule the special meeting last week to do this part of our process. And we'll meet on more substantive issues over the next week or so to add some meat to the bones of our legislative proposals, and obviously come back to the board, report back to the board as well. So most of it, I will tell you that we always like to have a presence in the legislature to look out for things that we may either like or not like, support the ones we do, and from either, for example, the Connecticut Water Association submits bills more often than we do. But we like to support our colleagues in the water industry or the wastewater industry. So that's an example. But there's also some bills that we think are either bad for the MDC, unnecessary for the MDC, like a imposed municipal ethics code that you've addressed, you as a board have addressed in the past and really stepped up and develop a code that mirrors the uniform municipal ethics code. That so things like that are unnecessary, that we don't necessarily fight against the principle of it, but just the need for it. But also to have a presence there, both through Brendan Fox, Mike Christ through that firm, and Janice Fleming has been terrific in terms of our relationship with the minority caucuses, Black and Hispanic caucus, and in her advocacy on issues that relate to City of Hartford in particular, but also the community at large. So we've got a really, we're lucky to have a very good team that works on your behalf, and we're hoping you'll support the team in that explanation as to what their obligations and what their duties are.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you.
Any other question? All in favor of adoption?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Number 12 on the agenda, report concerning Kenny Obayashi joint venture versus MDC. Will require executive session.
I'll do them both.
We can.
We can explain both executive session purposes and go into one executive session. Correct, John?
Okay.
And just the
These will be the two.
methods, we have to identify which people are in.
Yes.
Exactly.
They may be different, right?
Is there a motion to go into executive session for items 12, and 13?
So moved.
Move it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
If I might, Mr.
And who would you like?
Sorry, yes, just as to number 12, it's a pending litigation, so that's the purpose for going into executive session on that. It's a pending claim, so it's certainly eligible to be discussed in executive session. No action can be taken, but the discussion can be had. And second relates to cybersecurity, and under the statute, that's also an exemption to having a public meeting. So that being said, as to the first item, attorneys Corey and Hill, Mr. Jellison, myself, and attorney Myrtle. And unless you can think of, if you have someone from your staff, Scott, that you want here, that's all I need.
Yeah, are you gonna call
That's just-
cybersecurity as well? at the
Has the
same time?
12, and
Okay.
then they're not necessary, they have to step out, and then we'll have to call them back in.
Okay. So Chris Levesque and Susan can stay for you, Scott Jellison, CEO, for the Obayashi claim. And then you guys can take off, and then Bob Schwarm, Josh and Kelly Shane will stay for the,
We'll come get you.
yes.
That's right.
This is John Myrtle. The commissioners that are on the WebEx, I see Commissioners Stuber, Lewis, and Gentile. I know Commissioner Payne. I see your phone number ending in 54. Are there any other commissioners that are called in via phone line? Okay. So the commissioners that are remote, I'm gonna start a new session, and you should be brought into that immediately.
Thank you.
Just jump in and to the meeting and check.
Yeah,
whether or not-
yeah. Let me go on that.
Opposed, motion carried. Next on the agenda is opportunity for general public comments. Is there anyone that would like to address the board? Hearing none, commissioner requests for future agenda items. Hearing none, yes, Commissioner Bush?
I just wanted to kind of reiterate something I brought up last time about the look back period for the lateral repair. That has never been addressed anywhere. And I don't want to let that continue to languish without being addressed at some point. So there has a constituent in West Hartford who has continues to ask for the attention. And I just would like a resolution on it, either to yay or nay it, but I think it should at least be addressed.
Okay, thank you. There's one more thing before I entertain a motion to adjourn. I neglected to tell you that when you see the minutes of the board meetings, you're going to see where I'm abstaining on votes. And I have the option of either voting or abstaining and only voting to pass or to defeat a motion. And I've opted for the abstention of all motions to keep some form of neutrality. And so I just want you to be aware of that when you see it in the minutes. With that, entertain a motion to adjourn. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, motion carried. Thank you all very much.
All righty.